Hi, welcome to another home episode of Lattice training, and today we're going to look at pinch blocks. So in today's episode, what we're going to look at is pinch blocks. Here I've got the Lattice travel block, and as you can see, it's got a load of edges on there as well. You might want to use just a normal block of wood that you can do at home. Easiest way to do that, block of wood, bit of tap through it, and you can change the size of the pinches. It's also really good to be able to use edges as well. So we're going to go through a couple of different examples of how to train using this, doing finger curls, repeaters and max hangs. So the first thing to do when you're starting to use a pinch block, if this is new for you, is to decide on how to pick it up and how to use weights. So here we've got a couple of options of handholds and using a little bit of rope on either end. What I'm going to do is attach the weight to one of these bits of rope, and then I'm going to be choosing the different grip position based on this. What I'm going to be trying to do is lifting up the weight with a couple of key things in mind. Firstly, I don't want the weights to be over my feet. A lot of you are probably doing this at home right now, so if you're doing it at bare feet in the morning, last thing you want to do is drop a load of weight onto your toes, so make sure you're not doing that. Secondly, with your feet being out of the way, we're going to be looking at squatting the weight up. So that means that you're going to keep a nice straight back and you're going to be lifting with your legs, so the weight's off the ground with a straight arm. What we want to try and avoid doing is doing any sort of pulling motion so the weight is being moved by your arm, unless you're trying to do a specific low row exercise. That's always going to be limiting because of your arm position and not because of your fingers. So once again, weight out of the way of your feet, choosing the grip position you want to use, bending the legs, nice straight back, and then squatting the weight upwards with a straight arm. Hold that position for as long as you need, and then bend the legs to lower it back down. Don't try and lower it down from your back. The type of training you can do can vary just as much as using a fingerboard. You can increase maximum finger strength, your endurance on a fingerboard, anaerobic, and you can increase your robustness to injury, so doing prehab work or even rehab work. The key factor is choosing the grip positions you want to use and also making sure this is staying consistent throughout testing and also the following training. All of your training is going to be based across different intensities, and that's going to be dependent on your maximum strength or maximum ability using a different handhold. You can base this on perception of effort. So if I was doing a high intense fingerboard session and I wasn't doing any testing, then I would just want to be working at high enough intensity, using a bit of experimentation to find the right load for this. However, at Lattice we always try and do testing first. That means we're going to test a 1 rep max for the set amount of time, so I can base all of my training across this. When I'm doing this, what I'm going to be looking to do is use the same grip position in testing and gradually build up the weights. So for me, if I'm going to be testing a half crimp on this edge, I'll start off with a low weight. I'll choose the hold position that I'm going to be using and make sure I know this and it's consistent. So all of my future training, I'll be using the same grip position. What you don't want to do is test holding just the finger edge here, but then do all of your subsequent training using a thumb or using a slightly different grip position, because it won't be testing the right intensity. So make sure that you're staying nice and consistent throughout. So a further example about how to stay nice and strict using a pinch block is when we're getting our athletes to do any benchmarking, so we're going to get their maximum pinch strength, what we're looking to do is use this nice ridge line here, and we're going to be keeping our fingers along that in line with the screws, and the same with the thumb on the other side, so it's going to be consistent the whole time. That means that when I test in that position and train in it, it's going to be completely consistent, and I'm not going to move further down and make it easier for myself. Also, if you're going to get any comparisons with other athletes, you want to make sure it's just as hard for them as well. To give you a couple of sessions on what training you can do using a pinch block, we can go through 3 examples. Number 1 is going to be doing a pinch maximum strength session. Number 2 is going to be doing a repeater session using the edge, so that's going to be anaerobic capacity repeaters. And number 3 is going to be doing finger curls to help the health of my finger joints, because at the moment I'm doing loads of fingerboarding and I want to make sure they're staying nice and safe. The first session I'm going to be doing is a pinch block maximum finger strength session. This is actually available on the Crimp app, and what I'm going to be looking to do is a 10-second pinch hang, so lifting the weight up for 10 seconds. I'm going to have 30 seconds rest before doing it on the other hand using the same position, and then I'll have a period off before the next set. I'll be completing 6 sets in total, so by the end of the 6th set I should be powering out, and this is going to be really intense for me. I've already done a testing session, so I know how much weight to use, and what I'm going to be trying to do is keep that intensity throughout the entire session. So you've just seen an example of doing a maximum finger strength session using the pinch blocks, this top section here. And as you can see, I was trying pretty hard doing that. And there wasn't that much weight on there. So it just means that I'm using a really strict grip position, which I find quite challenging personally. Now what I'm going to be doing is doing a 7-3 70% anaerobic capacity session. So that means I'm doing repeaters. I'm going to do 6 reps per set. So 7 on, 3 off. And I'm going to be using this bottom edge here, which is the same as using the lattice rung. As you can see, I've got a lot more weight on here this time, and this is going to be using 70% of my maximum load. So I've already done a testing session for 7 seconds using this edge, so I know my maximum load. I'm going to use 70% of that. What I'm going to be trying to do is keep a strict position here, lifting up the whole time, and because there is a lot of weight, I need to make sure I'm sticking with that strict lifting form from the legs and keeping a nice straight back. So that's one set. I've got to do the same on the other side now. This session on the crimp tap is under the normal anaerobic capacity sessions, so it's 6 sets in total for 2 arms. So what I'm going to be doing, because this is really intense, I'm going to do 3 on each arm at the moment and build up to doing this session twice, so 6 on each arm. As you can probably see then, I was getting pretty powered out, so it's really intense. You can, during this session, lift up and then have a quick break between each repeater. However, because the intensity is so high and I only have 6 reps to do, I decided to keep my fingers on the whole time. Just make sure once again that your feet are out of the way and you're lifting from the legs, keeping a nice straight back. So a final session that we'll go through is doing some prehab work, doing finger curls. You can do this quite heavy with a bar with a dumbbell because it's a nice safe position and it changes the load up your fingers. But since we're using this on an edge, we're going to try and keep the weight relatively low. And this is purely a prehab and warming up exercise. So I'm going to use this nice edge at the bottom, keeping 4 fingers on, and I'm going to be curling the fingers into a full crimp position, not holding the thumb on, but just so it's nice and high, then extending back out. I'm looking to do quite a few reps of this, and it's going to get my fingers nice and warm. So I could do this as a warm-up, or like I said before, if I've got slight niggles or I'm trying to make sure my fingers stay nice and healthy, I can do this in addition to my finger strength training. So give you an example of this. Nice light load, picking up nice and safely as before, and then curling the fingers in and extending. So that's going to be a really nice stimulus to get loads of movement through the joints. I'm not using a heavy load, once again using this on the edges, and it's just a great session to add on to your finger strength training as a warm-up or as a separate session on its own. And there you have it, a couple of examples of sessions, how to use a pinch block safely and how to train better at home if you don't have a fingerboard available or you'd just like to use one of these as well. It's a really good bit of equipment, and if you get the training right, it can be just as good to make your fingers nice and strong. All right, enjoy and keep an eye on the YouTube channel for more information coming soon.
Yeah.